Hello everyone and welcome to FiST Chat, the vodcast that features discussions on the topics of film, science and technology. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern, and welcome back Steve. We're after our first official hiatus, we're back. We're excited to be back in, aren't we?
Hello FiST Chat fans, and it's really Ben, welcome back. You were the guy that went away. I was always here.
Absolutely. And it was a fantastic trip. It was... I think I undersold it in the last episode, calling it travel requirements, but going on a Caribbean cruise and then going off to Vegas and then spending some time in Shanghai for about 5 weeks was a pretty awesome way to spend some time.
Certainly sounds very good, and sounds like you saw perhaps a picture of the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously transport was on my mind recently, and we've spoken about that topic before in various FiST Chat episodes, whether it's the fuel that is used to power these things, or whether we want to go to Mars or something like that. Just thinking about all of that, going on that cruise was quite amazing because I've just got some stats here actually on this ship. The Oasis of the Seas, which I'm sure a lot of you would be familiar with. It's the biggest cruise ship in the world, and I think after going on this ship, I don't think I'll be able to go on any other ship. To be quite to be quite truthful, it's 360 meters long. It's got 16 passenger decks, which essentially means it's a 16-story building floating on water, Now, it says here that the maximum amount of passengers it can take is 6,300 roughly. We had I think the captain said 6,140 odd on our cruise. And
is that a bit like the Enterprise in space, except on the water?
Yeah, you'd have to think so, wouldn't you? It's amazing. But the thing is that's not counted in that is that there's another 2,500 staff working on the ship as well.
Oh wow!
So 8,500 people being carried around on this ship for week in, week out. And I have to say, it's just a really efficient operation. It was just it only took 15 minutes to get on the ship. Quite amazing for that many people and that much luggage and all of that sort of stuff. And it's definitely highly recommended if you want to have that 5-star experience, but at an affordable cost.
It also sounds like marvelously, almost like a spaceship. All these people on there, cut off from land, bobbing around in the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, as long as nothing goes wrong, of course, because, everyone was sort of, having a bit of fun with me before I left. Obviously there was the disaster earlier in the year with the what was it called? The
Costa Concordia.
Yeah, and obviously it's the 100-year anniversary of the Titanic sinking, which, in its day, that was a marvel. We can probably have a bit of a talk about that later.
Well, that's right, yeah.
But before we'll come back to the cruise later, and we'll have some photos that I can we'll throw in. But obviously, I spent some time in Shanghai, and we'll overlay some photos and video here. But I visited the Chinese one of the Chinese Apple stores, the most recent one. The reason I wanted to visit it is because it was mentioned in the recent keynote by Tim Cook as being this fabulous thing. And
nice photo of you there, Ben, too, by the way.
On Nanqing Road, or Nuqinglu, which is the highest, it's the biggest shopping mall in the world. It's unbelievably busy, and it's quite frankly unbelievable.
Haven't they heard of online shopping over there?
I guess they do all kinds of shopping over there. But the amazing thing is that they weren't selling new iPads.
Wow.
Which was a bit surprising. But apart from that, it was quite an amazing store to visit. Just got some video as well of a place called Chikawe. which is kind of a sort of a high-class shopping and business district.
Yeah.
And the video you're seeing here is that's just this massive tech store. It's sort of spread over 2 buildings, 5 levels, and basically anything you'd want that's tech related, you can get there at a much cheaper price than you can ever. And of course, because it's Chinese, you can go in and bargain as well. So it's kind of like visiting I don't know, a food market, but you know, you can get whatever you want essentially.
So tell me, is that part of the city? Is that all brand new?
No, that's been there for a while, and it is part of the city. But the thing that, like, especially for like us coming from Australia, where our cities are very small by comparison, you can travel for an hour in either direction in Shanghai, and it still looks like it's CBD.
Wow. Yeah.
What this particular tech store as well, there's so many of them anyway. I was just more impressed with this one because, you know, obviously 2 buildings, it was in a very busy area, and I've gotten some stuff from there as well. So I wanted to mention it, but it's worth pointing out that they're just multiplied throughout China. So, and that's something we don't really see here. You know, we got our Harvey Norman chains and things like that, but they just don't really. They're not really the same thing as this. And okay, just moving on as well. Went to Vegas, which is always a tough time going there. That's another place to go to if you want a 5-star luxury experience.
You bet it is.
At a cheap cost. This time, unlike the last few times that we've gone, they had a lot of the hotels had free Wi-Fi, which was excellent. It's probably been there for a while, but because it'd been about 2 years since we'd been, which was very handy. And but the Aria Hotel in Vegas is where we stayed, and that was really an amazing hotel because it lived up to its 5-star name, and the room was basically all it was tech controlled. You know, you had a touch panel, and it actually took us about half an hour to work out how to switch the lights on. But once we got our heads around it, we were having fun with the computer controlled blinds and doing all sorts of fancy stuff and all of that, and it was just really amazing thing. And that's why, you know, if you want that experience, Vegas is really awesome for that, and it's sort of a window into the future of maybe, you know, staying at hotels as well, that you get that kind of experience. I don't know, you know, obviously Vegas, they can do that. That's part of the charm. You know, that they get so much money from gambling revenue that they can probably afford to do all of this at a cheap cost. But it'd be nice to see that kind of tech in the hotel experience multiplied everywhere, really.
Well, that was why I had that question about where you were in Shanghai, because obviously other parts of China now, they've completely built super cities from the ground up. And last time I was in Vegas as well, there's some apartments just a block back from the Strip. Yeah. That would be very high tech, brand new as well. And I think that, it's very hard to convert our older style housing, even if your house is only, 10 or 20 years old. It's probably still quite hard with the infrastructure, and especially in Australia, to make them high tech. You know, it really takes a building up from the ground approach to include those things. And Vegas, of course, as we know, renews itself every 10 years or whatever it is. So, yes, it's not surprising to see Vegas there, and very exciting, to sort of see the advances that, are going on in China with regard to just the embracing of technology, and it's the fact that it's everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple of final things, though, on Shanghai that was interesting is that apart from the fact that Apple products have become a lot more popular in China, one interesting little story that I heard was that apparently in schools, I heard this from the daughter of one of the friends there, that apparently a lot of the kids are not into Apple because of their work practices in the factories, which was that kind of caught me by surprise. Apparently, they're into their Samsung phones, which are still manufactured probably at the same place.
Yeah.
But somehow the Apple's got a little bit of a maybe has a little bit of a brand problem there.
Well, while you were away, there was quite a bit of press, and Apple, despite racing towards, I don't know, another milestone on the US stock exchange, I think they hit $600 a share or something.
Yeah.
Finally relented and have agreed to pay their Chinese workers more. So they've been coming under a bit of international pressure, and I would imagine that if you've got a population like the Chinese, that's a large market. If they put any pressure on you for your work practices, I reckon you'd probably relent.
Absolutely. But in Apple's defense, they're not the only company using that I think it's Foxconn they're using. They're not the only ones using them. So they really should all be paying up. Really.
That's right. But, it's just big bad Apple this month.
Well, it's the same old thing, because they're at the top. They got the most glitter on them. They're the ones that they have to cop it.
Well, they are making a hell of a lot of money at
the moment. Absolutely. Okay, well, we'll move back to the cruise, which obviously that's a bad topic to talk about. I'll overlay some photos of it. The photos were taken in Haiti, and just a sidebar. The cruise company leases that part of Haiti itself.
Wow.
It's privately leased. So, the rest of the country might be in ruins, especially after the earthquake, but that part was really well presented. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, or whether you don't really want to think about that, but it was an interesting thing to note when we were there. That was the thing. But having said that, it was a very beautiful place. The water was crystal, as you can see in the photos. The water was really blue. It was just perfect weather. But if we're thinking about the tech of it, I mean, if you saw in the photo, it's just a little dock there, and this massive 16-story ship is sort of parked next to it and moored there. I mean, there's a great documentary on the Discovery Channel about the Oasis of the Seas, and I'd encourage people to have a look at it because it goes through a lot of what went into the making of it and how not only the making of it, but how a lot of ports had to accommodate it.
Yeah.
They had to. It wasn't just that they made the ship and it could go anywhere. They actually had to accommodate the ship as well. But when you see something that big, Steve, I found it quite a marvel of engineering. How does, obviously it's the physics of it, but it's still amazing that something that big and that heavy can stay afloat.
Yeah, well, I guess that's right. I mean, but they've been building boats for a long time, and it's a bit like evolution.
Yeah.
That Oasis of the Sea isn't the first boat they've ever built. They've been building boats, for 3,000, 4,000 years. So I guess incrementally they've improved the boat every bit along the way, and that's how you get a gigantic boat like that. And it is amazing. It's completely amazing. And you can almost think of, if you want to talk about the future, space travel being the same.
Yeah.
You look at the Apollo mission and the small capsules for 3 astronauts. Then you look at the space shuttle, which could carry up to 8, plus a payload. Maybe we've taken a backward step by going back to the Orion series, which is more like the Apollo. But over time, it shows you that you could well one day end up with something like the Enterprise in space.
Oh, absolutely, and we look forward to that day. That'll be a lot of fun cruising around on that.
Only at warp speed, Ben. Otherwise, it takes a long time to get anywhere. It's even slower than a boat. Absolutely.
Can we, just in the remaining time we have, just wanted to touch upon flights as well. People from Australia will know that it takes a long time to fly anywhere. The flight and especially us, we flew via China to get to America. But even if you went straight to America from here, especially at Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, it's still a long time. It takes somewhere between 15 to 17 hours just to get it to LA, and then it's another 4 or 5 hours to get to Fort Lauderdale, where the cruise departed from. That's a lot of traveling. Is there any scope, you think, for faster commercial flights based on, that are sort of still based on the current technology?
Talking about going backwards with the space shuttle back to Orion, well, we had the Concorde.
Yeah, we did.
I do believe that the Concorde marks the first time we've gone slower in the last 50 years or something. The retiring of the Concorde. So
is that because the price of flying on a Concorde was too much for your average punter?
The interesting thing is if they redesigned the Concorde today with modern materials, modern designs, they would get the cost down.
No, okay.
But yes, you're right. It was actually the cost was prohibitive for the Concorde with that design.
So is it feasible that maybe in a few decades, maybe they'll be able to say pick up this type of technology again, but do it at an affordable price?
Well, I'm very interested to see what they'll do with planes like the A380, which you were on. I mean, I always thought the idea was they wouldn't actually speed travel; they'd make it more comfortable. But for those of us who've flown on an A380, it's a little bit more comfortable than a 747, but not much. And they don't even run it at its maximum capacity, which I think is 495 passengers. Most of the time, they're only configured to around 400 anyway. So I don't know, but
unless you're flying business, of course.
Exactly, but I think the improvements will come probably not so much in speed, but probably more, in fact, with drugs that they'll give you so you wake up fresh at the other side.
And on that note, that sounds a very nice way to go travelling. So thanks again, Steve, for the chat. Always good. It's great to be back. That was our first official hiatus, or longer hiatus.
I hope no one missed us. Absolutely. No, I hope you didn't miss us.
Absolutely. And we're back on deck, and we'll be in next week as well. So don't forget our website, www.fistchat.com. You can get all our links there. I think we'll do some blogs this week on travel. I've got a lot to talk about since I've been having fun for the past 5 weeks. So that's it for this week's episode. So we'll catch you next week.